The U.S. debt is huge and it keeps going up. Who cares? The government will take care of it. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect me. No, it does. The U.S. debt, the national debt, affects multiple pieces of your life, including the fact that it reduces your income. You should care. That's what we're going to talk about today. How and why, and other ways that it affects you, to help encourage you to get out of debt and preserve your wealth. First, let me say, as I always do in the introduction, government does not care about you. Banks do not care about you. The sooner you realize that, the better you will be. You need to take control of your finances. No one else is going to do it for you. Real freedom is financial freedom. You want to transform your life, then transform your finances. I do this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I call it The Dollar is Dead. I have other videos throughout the week, but these 3 particular shows every Monday, Wednesday, Friday are meant to help encourage you to get out of debt, stay out of debt, and preserve your wealth. If you appreciate the work I do, please smash that like button, share it with others, and I always appreciate comments. Believe it or not, it helps the YouTube algorithm and these shows get out to more people. So let's talk about, and I'm going to show you so you understand, because this is important to understand, these 3 articles talking about how the national debt affects your income and more. Here's the first one. The U.S. debt is over $34 trillion. It's been going up substantially over the last 10 years. The CBO, the Central Budget Office, warns that rising debt will reduce Americans' income. Rapidly rising debt could reduce income growth. This isn't funny. I shouldn't be laughing. It's just unbelievable. By 33% over the next 3 decades and 42% annually by fiscal year 2049. Rapidly rising debt would reduce projected income by about $14,500 per person in 2054 in today's dollars. Now you might think that doesn't matter, that's a long distance away, but this is happening year over year. Not only through inflation are you losing the value of your dollars saved, but your income, essentially almost the same thing, looked at a different way, is being decreased because of the debt. And they put it into dollars. Do you want to lose $14,500 a year on your salary and your spouse? No, of course you don't. The CBO says the reduction in household income is due to what they call crowding out. It's an economic theory that traces how high debt and deficits slow economic growth on national and individual level. Okay, what does that mean? High debt. In other words, the debt that the United States has. And what does deficits mean? Well, it means they're spending more every year than they're bringing in, so then they have to print more money. It slows economic growth because of other factors on a national and individual level. So on a national level, that's called our GDP, gross domestic product, which measures the amount of products and services we're able to create as a country. The more we're able to do with a certain number of people, let's say, the better. We're all better off. If that same number of people is producing less and has less output, then we're all worse off. That's just common sense. That's what it means in commonsensical terms. Listen to this. High and rising debt, which is exactly what we have now. We have extremely high debt in the United States, and it's rising. I think they added 600 or 800 billion just this year in 2024 so far. High and rising debt hinders economic growth. How? By crowding out investments, pushes up interest rates, strains the federal budget through rising interest payments, creates geopolitical challenges and risks, makes responding to new emergencies more challenging, imposing burdens on future generations, and increasing the risk of a fiscal crisis. All right, let's break this down. Hinders economic growth by crowding out investments. So this country and other countries require, and I should say that this is not just the U.S., other countries who have high and rising debt are going to have these same issues, and it's going to be decreasing the income of their residents just like the United States. But if we look at this, we need investment. We need people to invest in new companies because those new companies create jobs. And if you've ever started a company, and I've started many, I have many, you know that you don't start off cash flow positive on day one. It takes investment. It takes time to go and become profitable. It pushes up interest rates. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you have a business or you're buying something like a home or whatever it may be, you have to pay a higher interest rate, which means you're probably going to afford less, or a business won't be able to get a loan, or they'll have to get a smaller loan and can't grow as fast. It's going to strain the federal budget because they're rising interest payments. This year alone, I think they said the United States will spend on interest payments over $1 trillion. I can't even fathom that. And then they go on to talk about other things. Of course, the kicking the can down the road to future generations. It seems like no one seems to care about that, even though they always talk about it. All right, I want to show you this, which I thought was fascinating. I just threw this into Google AI, or into Google, and it brought up their artificial intelligence answer. And they said, okay, 3 things that are going to happen with growing national debt. 1, interest rates. They're going to lead to higher interest rates, which increases the cost of borrowing money and therefore lowers wages, which makes it harder for you and me to afford things like cars and houses. That stinks. We're already seeing that. We've already seen that interest rates have gone through the roof. Mortgages are up over 7 to 8%. Personal loans have gone up substantially. Credit card rates have gone up substantially. Car loans have gone up substantially. So it's making it harder for you to afford these things. Second, economic opportunities. High debt levels reduce private investment in capital goods, which is what I'm saying. Now you've got less money that's being invested into new companies, creating new jobs, and creating a richer United States or whatever country you may be in, which can lead to lower productivity and wages. This limits the amount of resources available for public investments, like education, research, development, infrastructure, important things if we want to grow as a country. Third, job market. Here you go. High debt levels make it more expensive for businesses to borrow money and expand, which can slow down job creation. The federal government may also need to cut spending or raise taxes to reduce debt, which impacts government programs and consumer spending, right? If you're paying more in taxes, you're spending less. And that leads to job losses in certain sectors. So there you go. 3 more reasons why. Third article, the GAO. And I love this website, by the way, the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Here's what they say, and I'm just going to point out a couple pieces. I'll have links to all these articles so you can go into depth yourself. The federal government is on an unsustainable, long-term fiscal path that poses serious economic, national security, and social challenges. And the longer we wait to act, the more dire the consequences will be on the economy and the public. All right, so they're talking about the huge debt has economic consequences. We've talked about that to the country. National security, well, we have less money to pay for our military and things that keep us safe. Social challenges, well, now we've got less money to help out people that might be homeless or need help with food and things like that, which is horrible. We want to be wealthy enough that we can help everyone and we have a good social safety net. Well, that safety net's going to start getting some holes in it, which we've seen in some cities already. It says, in fact, debt is projected to grow twice as fast as our economy over the next 30 years. That's horrible. What if your debt grew twice as fast as your income? Well, we know what would happen. You'd be broke and you'd be bankrupt. Already, it's nearly the size of our economy. Our debt is almost the size of our 1-year economy. At the end of fiscal year 2023, in other words, that whole entire year of 2023, debt held by the public, I love how they say that. It used to be the federal government debt, but realize the federal government debt is your debt. You're holding this debt. Debt held by the public was 97% of gross domestic product. If we took all that GDP, it would take to pay the debt. Obviously, we can't do that. It's unbelievable. That's a metric they use quite a bit, is what percent of GDP is your debt. Perpetually rising debt as a share of GDP is unsustainable and has had many direct and indirect implications on the economy and the public. All else equal, growing debt is likely to increase interest rates. There we go again. Rising interest rates usually hurt Americans' personal finances by lowering your income, your wages, and increasing the cost to borrow money, house or car. Rising debt increases the risk of a fiscal crisis. So this is why you should care and pay attention. The government debt decreases your income and makes it more expensive for you to take loans on things like homes or cars. So you've now got less money and it's more expensive to get the things you want. That stinks. That's the exact opposite of what we want. So what can you do? Do not rely on the government. Get yourself out of debt. Have a budget. Start saving and preserve your wealth. In that order, right? No one's going to help you. So get that out of your head. You need to take control of your finances. You need to get out of debt with those crazy high interest rate payments. Then you can start saving. Then once you're out of debt, you need to have a budget or create a budget before you even start to get out of debt. You should always have a budget. Then once you're out of debt, you can start saving. You can take that money instead of paying all those huge interest payments and start saving that money, but then preserve your wealth. And that's what we talk about every Friday. What can you do to make sure, because of inflation, that you preserve the purchasing power of the money you've saved? Be sure to watch the Friday shows. Subscribe, please, so you don't miss any of this. I hope this points out the fact to you that it does matter that the government's running up this debt. You should care. You should do whatever you can to stop that. We should all do that. Hopefully we can do that when we vote. I don't know. It doesn't seem to ever change no matter who's in power. But control the things you can control. Get yourself out of debt. Make sure you have a budget. Save and preserve your wealth. Thanks for watching. See you next time.